So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's take our comfortable seat and we'll open practice with a centering. Letting your hands rest on your lap, letting your shoulders drift away from your ears. Finding that point of stillness where our body knows, oh, we're going to do this wonderful thing again. This wonderful practice where we get to notice and we get to bring awareness to this deeper knowing, this embodied wisdom. And today I'm thinking a lot about the teaching that I've referenced and heard called both and. Both things can be true and. So you could think about your life and sort of the course of the past week, and we can realize, understand what may have happened and how we feel about it. And there might be big, big emotions around it. And there's also wonderful things in your life that you can connect to right at this moment. It could be this class. It could be where you're sitting in your favorite space. It could be your little furry animal that's near you all the time. Both and. And this is true in many, many teachings. The yogis teach us this on a regular. Don't get pulled down the rabbit hole. Stay with your stillness, stay with your knowing, stay with both things can be true at the same time. So as we practice today and we move through our class, notice how we feel now and how we feel at the end. Take a nice deep breath and exhale through your nostrils. And before we change anything, I want you to stay here. Take your right thumb against your right outer nostril. We're going to breathe in and out through the left nostril only. And so letting your breath stay nice and relaxed, and let the belly relax so the breath can move downward. Breathe in and out through only the left nostril. It is said that where the breath flows, the prana goes. Prana, our life force. And so right now we're stimulating the yin channel of our energetic body. The channel of nourishment, cooling, embodied wisdom. And just keep focusing on that nice, relaxed breathing, letting the belly expand completely as you inhale and fully relax as you exhale. Take one more cycle of breath. And then letting your hand come down, breathe into both nostrils evenly. And bringing the hands together at the heart center, holding any intention that you have for your class this morning. And may the class and experience be exactly what you need. Nice inhale. And as you exhale, hands release, eyes can flutter open. So many of you probably know that Chris and I have been doing these healthy habit offerings, I'll call them, since March. So we're in the second to last month, November. If you've been following along, we've done everything from neti pot to lemon water to walking outside, all kinds of things. with the idea that we add these things slowly over time, and over a course of a year, we could have 10 new habits that we didn't have before. So this month we added pranayama. And because you take my yoga classes, I usually always do some sort of pranayama in my class, but you might take them and do them in other places also. So that pranayama I just did with you is exactly what I said it was. It's to help shift energy from busy, active, outward thinking to quiet, nourishing, inward focus. It's exactly what it did. And we did it for like 3 minutes. Super easy. Okay, so let's start on the mat. I want you to lie all the way down on your back. We'll start with a somatic movement to see where we are in our body, and then we'll come into our practice. So lie all the way down. Good morning, Carmen. I didn't see you pop in. So lie all the way down on your back and just check yourself out. You know how you walk by a mirror and you pretend you're not doing it, but you really are doing it. You're looking at yourself like, am I all put together? Did I button up my shirt? Did I have my pants tucked in? Like, what are you thinking about when you're looking at yourself in the mirror when you walk by? So now we're lying down on the mat and we're checking ourselves out here. And so you're lying in a still, quiet position, and immediately you'll get feedback. You'll get feedback from the floor. You'll get feedback from the body and your body resting against the floor. What's happening? What's happening in your breath body? Now, we just did a little pranayama, so you might have a different sensation than if we wouldn't have done that. Maybe there's more awareness to how your body's breathing. Maybe the breath is in the belly, not up in the chest, or maybe it is up in the chest. Just notice what's going on. And then finally, notice the state of your mind. When we fuss and fidget on the mat, it's a signal that our nervous system is not calm and our mind is not calm. Even though we might be still. So our first movement pattern, our somatic movement pattern, what I'd like you to do is bend your knees and take your knees as wide as, or your feet as wide as the mat. And take your arms open into a T shape outward away from your body. We'll see if you've got space on the floor for that. And as you let your knees drift over to the left, I want you to look to your right, and I want you to turn your right palm up and your left palm down. And you might notice just before we start this pattern, how this feels in your body. Are you tight? Does it feel a little glitchy or sticky? And then when you inhale, come to center, flip your palms over, let your knees go to the right and your eyes go to the left, and then pause there for a moment. And we live in our bodies with these kind of sticky places all the time. So just notice if it's a normal thing or is it a little bit more of a intense. And now we're going to go back and forth, inhaling on the lift and shifting, exhaling as you drift over. When you finish your exhale, inhale, come back up. Slow motion, turn your hands, turn your eyes, turn your knees. Exhale, settle. So there's this nice rhythm between the slow somatic movement and the breath and the awareness. Now, as we continue, you might choose when you turn your palm up to keep pivoting on your thumb as if you're going to flip your hand all the way over so the palm is down again. It's another way to slowly tweak the inner armpit area, the waist, down and around the lower back and pelvis. I offer this particular somatic movement often because it does so many wonderful things in our body that we don't realize. Make sure you're turning your head. Make sure you're flipping your hands around. Try not to force anything, just let gravity help your body unwind itself. And then the next time your legs go to the right and your eyes are to the left, we'll call that your end of your cycle. And you come back to center, put your arms down, put your legs down, and then take a moment and see what happened. Did anything happen? All right, from here, we're going to go right into banana. So we're lying down on the mat. Take your legs over to the right side of your mat. And remember, when you do that, you want to keep your pelvis level. Don't let your left side pelvis come up. And then if you're using your hands, hold on to your left wrist. Move your head, shoulders, and arms to the right. You can see that I've got this bolster right here, just accidental that it's there. My hands can actually rest on that bolster if your shoulders are bothersome. The other option is you can always let your arms come down and not have them over your head. And finally, you can choose to cross your right ankle over your left to kind of hold the legs in place, or if you need more sensation, left ankle over right. And we find that first place of stillness, the very first place of stillness. This place of stillness, if someone were to look at you, they would think you were just laying there and nothing was happening. But you experiencing your inner body, your inner world, there is a lot happening. So breathe into the sensations that you're noticing. And think about that both and principle. You can be lying here, really happy that you're here in class, and you can be uncomfortable. It's both and. It's not either or. I learned that teaching a long, long time ago, and I never knew that I was an either or person, but I was. And somebody taught me this idea of both and I just loved it. I was like, oh, there's always this yin and yang. This is what yoga teaches us. There's always this balance of opposite. This is what Ayurveda teaches us. So it makes a lot of sense to me. And in this particular time of our season in the world, I think we really need this teaching so that we don't get so glommed on and stuck in our kind of rigid thinking. It's both and. So breathing into anything that's showing up. Letting go of any stickiness, gripping. Rinsing and clearing the physical body, the energetic body, and the mind. So take a nice deep breath. Slowly relax your position that you're in and come back into the center. Maybe bend your knees Put your feet on the floor, rock your pelvis, or you might even want to bring your knees to your chest in between sides. And then we take a moment to go ahead and set up for the other side. So legs go down, arms go down, and then wiggle your feet over to the left side of your mat. Decide about crisscrossing your ankles or not. And with the right side pelvis being heavy, wiggle your shoulders and head over. And again, if you're using your hands and arms over your head, it's nice to hold your wrist. I like to hold my right wrist when I'm going towards the left and vice versa. And when you find that edge that you want to stay in, you settle and breathe. Reminding you that we all have our automatic habits of maybe doing too much or doing too little. And what we're looking for here is this tension against tissues on purpose and just enough so that you start to feel an unwinding happening. You start to feel a softening, a resiliency, a nourishment happening to the tissues. The breath might feel a little deeper. The body might start to react and feel a little softer. It's about being in the shape and experiencing your internal body rather than doing something. Last week I talked and mentioned a word that we use when we think about the quality of the mind called sattva. It's one of what we call the gunas, which are the qualities of the mind. And sattva is represents balance and harmony and ease, serenity. And so when we're in this practice, this is what we're after. We're after these qualities of sattva in the mind, which resonates into the physical body. Moving away from the consistent, frenetic energy of the world, moving more towards your own inner, quiet, embodied wisdom. And remember, it's both and. We can have this, and we can have the frenetic energy of the world. And how do we dance in that? That's the challenge. That's the work. Take a nice deep breath. And then as you exhale, go ahead and release out of that shape. Bring yourself back to the center. Move nice and slow. Maybe bend your knees this time. I like to rock my pelvis a little, just gently. You can go side to side or forward and back or both. And then from here, if you have a block or a bolster, I want you to take it and put it under your pelvis. So a bolster I like to use because it's softer, but it's also bigger. So you also have to gauge your own intensity. I'll use that language. So the blocks, it's easier to put right under your sacrum and know where you are. The bolster is, do I want it under my lower back? For me, because I'm short, I need it on my lower back. It'll feel better that way. And we're going to pause here for a minute. Roll your shoulders underneath your back and just pause. Your hands can be on your belly or out on the floor, or maybe even in cactus pose. We're going to do a little series here on this bolster block. So the first minute or so is just stopping and pausing. Feet are on the floor, knees are bent. Breathing into the belly, noticing the breath at the left nostril. You don't have to close off the right, but just noticing and bringing your attention and awareness to that left side. You might notice that there's a quieting, a stilling of the mind when you focus on the left side. I do this meditation pretty much every day with a group of people, and we use the mantra Soham as our anchor. And the teaching is, again, both and can be true. You're sitting very quietly, you're doing your Soham mantra, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about the day. You start thinking about what you're going to wear or what errands you have to do or whatever, right? And then you go, oh, that's funny. And you come back and you do Soham, 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 Soham. And then you'll start to drift away again. And this is how our mind works, right? And it's almost a funny experience because we can catch ourselves in our own crazy so often. The same thing is true here, where we're using our body and our breath as our anchor. And then we'll start to think about something else. And the work is to catch it quicker and quicker so that you don't spend the entire class thinking about something. You keep coming back to your body and your breath, your body and your breath. Alrighty. So the second part of this is to take your right knee, draw the right knee in toward the chest. You can hold it with two hands or one on top of your shin or under your knee. And you're welcome to stay here, or you could slide your left leg down. So holding right leg, sliding left leg down. There's your second action, your second phase. And with your holding of your leg, if you're a long torsoed person, it might be easier to hold behind your knee. It's not so far away because you do want your shoulders resting on the mat. The back of your head resting on the mat, not your neck. And we find this breath here and breathe. And we come back. We come back to the body, the sensations in the body, the sensations within us, the breath as an anchor. Because we know that training the mind takes effort. That's what meditation's all about. It's taking the time to help train the mind to be more one-pointed focus. And the world encourages us to be very multi-focused, very busy. But the juice, the healing, the quality of the mind is really in the quiet, in the stillness. All right, so from here, go ahead and let go of your right leg and put your foot on the floor. Bend your left knee if you put it down. Then we'll just go to the other side. So left knee draws in, holding that leg somewhere. You can leave your right leg bent, or you can slide your foot out onto the floor, creating this spaciousness around the long leg, hip flexor, belly, lower back. So we're here pausing for another couple minutes. Let the belly just move. Let the breath move down into the belly. Feel and sense into any of the sticky areas, the glitchy areas. Notice what it brings up for you. Softening into the shape, letting gravity help us. A nice deep breath. And then let go of your left leg, let your foot land on the floor. Slide your right leg up if you had it down, and just pause here again for a moment. If you have the bolster, it's nice just to take it with your hands, lift your hips up and push it down away from your body so your hips can land on the floor. If you've got the block, you need to slide it out from underneath you to the side and then land your bottom on the floor. And again, take a moment here to see how a body feels. Laying legs down, arms down, pausing. From here, bending your knees, we're going to roll over to the side, push yourself up away from the floor, and come up to sitting. So again, we're going to go into a little series. We're going to start with butterfly pose. So feet away from you, sitting up on a blanket if your hips feel tight or your lower back feels tight. And then remember the props and how we can use them. So blocks are nice. If you've got two, you can stack them and bring your elbows on your blocks to come forward and rest. I like the bolster on my feet. So take a breath, and as you exhale, you come forward and down. Now you were just in a little baby back bend when you were on the block, so your lower back might feel a little vulnerable. So go slow. And in this one, it's nice to hold your head in your hands or let your head rest on a block. For me, that feels a little much, so I'm going to put my head on a block. Pausing here, breathing into the back body. Noticing the both and principle. I might be a little uncomfortable. My body feels really tight. And I'm really happy to be here in this class, relaxing my body, relaxing my mind, taking the time for me. Cultivating that quality of sattva or sattva, how it's pronounced both ways. This quality of balance and harmony. Continue to bring your awareness back to the breath, back to the sensations of the body, especially if you notice that you're starting to drift away into other thoughts. Having that quiet and that meditative like mind is absolutely wonderful. Stay there. Don't try to make anything different. But if you find yourself drifting, come back to the sensations, come back to the quality of the mind and the breath. Take a nice deep breath. And then starting to walk yourself up. Taking a moment here before we shift. The next shape I'm going to offer has two options. Take your right leg and stretch it out to the side. And I don't care where it goes. It can go in all kinds of directions. This other leg's got two options. You can bring it in this bent leg and straight leg option, half butterfly this is called. Or you could take your bent leg and bring your foot behind you. So you're still in this half butterfly, but now I put my foot behind me to make my leg an internal rotation. This is a little harder, depending on what you need in your body. I'm going to try it this way. And then I'm going to turn towards my straight leg. And a little hack, if you like, is you can put the blocks right up against your leg so your leg doesn't flap off to the side. You don't have to do that, but it's just something to practice. And then take a nice deep breath, and as you exhale, fold forward. Now I rest on my blocks just because I'm pretty tight in the shape. You might be able to lay all the way down over your leg or grab a hold of your feet. And we pause here for another couple minutes. What I like to remind people is, in Yin especially, it's totally acceptable to experience or be curious around new shapes and new sensations. Another way of saying it is, you don't always have to do the same thing that you always do. We keep ourselves in a little bit of a comfort box, and when we push outside those edges just a little bit, it might make us a little uncomfortable. And that's actually not a bad thing. It helps us grow and expand. I'm reading a book right now from one of my students. It just came out. It's called The Thresholds of Change. And she talks about these 4 stages that she's been teaching for years and years and years. And I'm not maybe a quarter of the way through the book, so I can't really speak to the whole thing. But I like the language and the way she approaches these different stages of change. And just like I just gave you an opportunity to do something different with your leg, if that change felt a little too hard, you won't go there. You'll just stay with what you know. And that's how we ebb and flow, right? We ebb and flow through these choices all day long. Take a nice deep breath. And then very slowly bringing yourself up. Now, if your foot is behind you like mine is, you got to hold your ankle, bring your leg around, and stretch your leg out in front of you. So if you had the leg in the other position, please do that same thing. And then we'll switch sides. So the leg you just had bent goes out, and the other one bends. So remember, you can bend your foot in. That's kind of the easiest position. That's what we're used to. Or you can turn your foot all the way around and bring your knee out the other way. So half bent leg and one straight leg, and then sit up tall, turn towards the straight leg, and then start to fold forward, finding your place here. And because we have 2 different shapes going on, you're going to feel this differently in both legs. So enjoy the journey of sensations in the body. Keep the breath flowing. With this teaching of pranayama this month, I asked a question on our Facebook page about the difference between breathing and pranayama. And one person answered it correctly. She said it was the controlling of the breath. So when we were doing that yin practice in the very beginning, that yin breathing practice, we were controlling the breath very gently by just closing off one nostril. That would be considered a very gentle pranayama. We'll do another one towards the end, which is a little different. We just continue to breathe. Body breathes. Pranayama, we take our tension and awareness and actually manipulate the breath for a specific effect. That's really the difference. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to bring yourself up. Remember to take a hold of your ankle, gently bring the leg in front of you and stretch the leg out. And our last shape here, I want you to take your legs open into a full straddle, wherever it is that your body likes to go. You can use your bolster here. You can use your blocks in front of you. You can let your hands just rest on the floor. If I'm going to use my bolster, I'm going to prop it up a little. I want to put it right up against my body so I feel that's there, and then I can come forward. You can let go of that and just bring your hands on the mat and let your body fold forward. Finding a place where you can feel and sense something happening. This is inner body work, inner leg, inner groin. I want to remind you that forward folding, even in a yin class, can cause a little bit too much grippiness in the lower back. So you got to use that in your discernment around how far you want to go. And the teaching tells us that if you feel this generalized, I'll call it a stretch for lack of a better word, stretching sensation in your body, it could be in your feet or in your legs or in your neck, that's a good thing. If you kind of get stuck in one pinpointed place where it's giving you a little bit too much information, that's where you back up. And I've always found it really interesting that if I just back up a millimeter, just the tiniest little bit, it comes out of that pointed focus place and it goes elsewhere in the body. And then I know, oh, I'm not stressing out my low back in this case. I'm giving myself a little bit of a moment so that I can feel and sense it in all the other areas that the fascia lives around the joints, along the spine, throughout the whole body. Take a nice deep breath. And then slowly starting to come up. Remove your props out of the way. Bring your legs closer together by supporting your knees. And take a moment here. We're going to lie down on our belly next, but take a moment here I like to stretch my arms behind me and maybe do the little knee swishy again. Go nice and slow like we did in the beginning, letting your body let go of any of that tension or discomfort. And then once you've done that a couple of times on each side, go ahead and lie down on your belly. We're going to pause on our hands, resting forehead on hands. Let your feet be a little wider apart. Let your body get real heavy. Breathing into the belly, just feeling the body against the floor. All right, from here, go ahead and prop yourself up into Sphinx pose, counteracting that forward bend. Letting your pelvis and your pubic bone feel heavy, separating your hands enough so that your chest can relax in the middle of it. And then for some people, they don't like to hold their head up, bothers their neck. So this is where you can use your block and just put your head on your block, but let the rest of your body soften. If you don't mind holding your head up, hold your head in a neutral position with your chin tucked in slightly rather than lifted. And then remember the little support that you can give yourself if, for instance, you don't want to be resting on your arms. Maybe your shoulders are bothering you. This is what I gave Chris when she was dealing with her shoulder. You put the block or the bolster underneath your rib cage, and so your arms are free and they're just resting here. Not a lot of effort going on. Noticing any fussing or fidgeting. Many of us don't like to be in a back bend. We feel like it's a little bit almost dangerous for our spine. But the opposite is actually true. The back bending can be very healing to the tissues of the spine. And the forward bending is the one that makes us have issues. Which is why I always have them in my class. And it doesn't have to be big and a lot in order for it to be effective. Remember, if you want something a little bit more, maybe your body feels like it can, press yourself up on your hands. Just bring your chest and your head up a little bit higher. Now I'm resting again on this bolster, so it actually feels quite nice. It doesn't quite feel so vulnerable. Take a nice deep breath. And if you've got the bolster under you like I do, just move it off to the side, lay yourself all the way back down onto the mat, head resting on your hands. From here, I want to do what's called half frog. So you're going to take your left leg and move it out away from the midline in a bent knee position. Start there. And when you get your leg out, don't bring it up by your shoulder. Keep it about hip level and start to stretch it away from you, like I'm pulling it out away from your midline. And then turn your head to the right. Breathing into anything that's present. If, for instance, this particular shape doesn't feel like anything, you can straighten your leg out so that your leg is completely straight and in that same shape. I get plenty with my knee bent, so I'm going to stay there. And let the left ear get heavy. Breathing into this inner groin on the left leg, inner thigh. Maybe even the left inner belly. Just noticing what's going on in this simple yet very powerful shape. Take a nice deep breath. And let your head come to center and slowly wiggle your leg back down on the mat. You might want to notice the difference between the two sides before you switch. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and take your right leg out to the side. And rather than bringing it up towards your shoulder, which is our instinct to do, wiggle your knee away from you, maybe about an inch or so. And then turn your belly and turn your eyes to the left. And we pause here on the side. Remember that if it feels like there's not much going on, straighten your leg out so that your legs are like in a 90-degree angle. And take a nice deep breath. And then feel very slowly start to bring your leg back to the center. Bring your eyes back onto your hands. Just pause there for a moment. And then as you feel ready, go ahead and turn over onto your back body. Once you're lying down on your back, bend your knees. And I want you to do this next action gently. Bring your knees towards your chest. Separate your knees a little bit so that they're towards your shoulders. Pause there. It might feel really good on your lower back just to be here. You can bring the knees a little wider so that you feel like you're in that frog pose again and stay there. You can lift your feet up towards the ceiling and hold behind your knees and stay there. Or you can hold your ankles or your feet. So don't get overly aggressive with this one. Just find a sweet spot where you can keep your sacrum on the floor. Keep that sweet, neutral kind of lightness to the lower back. Feet are facing the ceiling, or if you chose the beginning, feet are down and you're holding your knees. Take a nice deep breath. And let your legs come back to the floor, feet down. You might want to lift your pelvis up away from the floor as a counterbalance to that. And then pause here. I want to make sure you're warm. We're going to start a little breathing practice and then we're going to go right into Shavasana. So with your hands on your belly, you can leave your legs bent initially. I like to touch my knees together, but you don't have to. I want you to just close your eyes and start to breathe in and out through the nostrils. Nice, easy rhythm. If you decide to, get yourself set up for Shavasana, go ahead and put your legs down. You can do this with your legs down. You could even sit up as if you were going to do a meditation and end that way. And so breathing in and out through the nostrils, letting your body breathe and noticing how the body's breathing. This is your natural body's way of breathing. It's the quiet, calm, restful breath. And now I want you to start to add a count to your inhale and exhale. 4 counts on your inhale, 4 counts on your exhale. So it could feel like inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Find your rhythm in your mind that works with your natural body's rhythm. Now you can stay with this rhythm and this is fine. If you're comfortable, if your body's comfortable breathing in this rhythm, start to add a fifth or an extra count to the exhale. So you're 4 inhale, 5 exhale. And do that for a couple of breaths and see. And if that one feels good, then add another count to the exhale so that you're at 4 count inhale, 6 count exhale. This is where a lot of people like to live, right here. And that's fine. You'll notice that on your exhale, the longer you go with this, the more the abdomen gets involved to help contract the diaphragm. And that's actually a really good thing. If you're comfortable with your 6 count exhale, go to 7 counts exhale. And as you feel your abdomen want to support or work with your diaphragm, this is actually helping your diaphragm get stronger. It's like weight training for the diaphragm. And then the inhale just feels so much more expansive. If you're comfortable here, go to the next layer, which is 7 counts exhale. And each time you go up, you just notice how your body responds. The first one might feel a little bit awkward or challenging, but then your body will respond. And then the final one here is 4 count inhale, 8 count exhale. So we're doing what's called a 1-to-2 ratio now instead of a 1-to-1. This is a simple pranayama that we can do to help calm our nervous system, calm our mind, bring a quality of sattva to our body and mind so that we can work with this both and principle of being in this sweet, quiet, sattvic place in our body and also living in the frenetic world. After your next inhale and exhale, let everything go and just fall back into your body's rhythm. Resting there, quiet, ease, sattva. Take a nice, deep, long breath. And allow your awareness to start to come back. Gently start to stretch and move, bringing yourself back to the body. And when you feel ready, you can roll to a side, take a breath or two there, and then come up to sitting. Once you're seated, bring your hands to your heart center. Slide your breastbone upward just a hair, letting your shoulders melt. And then bow your head towards your practice, towards your intention, towards all of the effects of the practice. And gratitude for our time together on the mat, our deep body wisdom and guiding light. May our light always shine brightly, and may we always see the light in each other. Namaste.